What's up? I'm back. It's Miss Trine here again to teach you all about graphing inequalities. So we're going to go ahead and do our notes for our booklet. So let's go ahead and turn to page 3. Alright, at this top of this page, this is super important. These are your steps on how to graph inequalities. So there's two main ones that you got to follow when doing so. The first one is to determine, okay, is this an opened or a closed circle on your number line? So if it's an open circle, that means you have a less than operation or you have a greater than operation. It doesn't have that equal to sign. But if it does have the equal to sign, it's going to be a closed circle. As you can see here, it's going to be a closed circle. So that's our first part. Our second part is determining what way our arrow points, whether it goes this way or that way. So to figure that out is you use a testing number, which is going to be 0 in most cases. And then you need to figure out if it's true or false. If it's true, your line is going to be pointing towards 0 because it's numbers that are close to 0. And our next one, if it's false, that means it's going away from 0. So that'll make more sense once we tackle some actual problems. So let's go ahead and do number 1, our first example. So we have x is greater than 3. So our first step is because it's greater than and it doesn't have that equal to sign, we're going to put our first open circle at 3. So that's your first step. Then you got to figure out which way your line faces. So we have 0 is greater than 3. Yeah, that's not true. So we do not want to draw towards 0. We want to go away from 0. Because numbers that are greater than 3 are 4 and 5 and 6 and so on. It's going to continue going on all the way to infinity because it goes on forever. So that's our first example. Let's go ahead and tackle our second example. So we've got x is less than or equal to 2. So because it has that equal to, since it has that equal to, we know we're going to have a closed circle at 2. So here's our circle. We're going to color it in best that we can. Yeah, that's my best attempt. Alright, so we're going to test our 0. So we have 0 is less than or equal to 2. Well, that's totally true. So we want our line to go towards 0 all the way towards the end. So it goes on forever. So that's our second example. Now let's do our third example. So we got x is greater than 0. So it says that it's going to be a closed circle at 0. Is that true? No, it's not. It's going to be an open circle because there's no equal to sign. So that is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong. Hopefully you caught it before I did. So we're going to do an open circle at 0. There's our open circle. So your next step is to test 0, but it's 0. Yeah, no, we're going to pick something else to test. So let's just throw something that's not 0. Let's try -2. So -2 is greater than 0. Is that true or is that false? That is totally false. Totally false. So that means we're going to go away from -2. So our line's going to go the opposite direction because it's numbers that are greater than 0, which is like 1 and 2 and 3 and 7 and billion and jillion. You get the point. It's bigger than 0. So that's our third example. Let's go ahead and go on to some just open practice. So it doesn't have the steps to tell you how to do it, but hopefully you guys are starting to get the hang of it. So for our first one, we have x is less than -2. Well, let's look at our number lines. They're blank. Oh, that's fun. So let's go ahead and fill them in. Let's go ahead and fill in this first number line. We got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our positive numbers. Well, we also have to include our negative numbers. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Okay, so we've filled in our number line. So now we're going back to our example. We're going to have an open circle at -2. We're having an open circle because it's not equal to. So now we got to find our testing point. So we have 0 is less than -2. Well, that's not true. That's not true. So we're going to be facing away from 0. So numbers that are less than -2 are like -5 and -6. Those are less than. And that's what our line includes. And that's the whole point of that. The line is showing you what values make the statement true. What values make this statement, oh goodness, statement true. That's the biggest thing. All right, and the circle just tells us where we start. So for our next one, we're at x is greater than or equal to -4. Well, our number line is blank again, so let's go ahead and try to switch it up when we do it. So let's do our 0 here. So that's -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and so on. And then 1, 2, 3 over here. So it looks a little different, but that's just so we can see what numbers it includes. So we have -4. And since it's that equal to, since it has that line under, that means it's going to be a closed circle at -4. So let's test our point. We've got 0 is greater than or equal to -4. That is totally true. So our line points towards 0. Because those are the numbers that make the statement true. And then let's see our next one. Our number line's blank again, so let's go ahead and fill that one out. Let's put our 0 here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then our negatives, -1, -2, -3. All right, so here's our example. We got x is less than or equal to 3. All right, well, we know our circle is going to be at 3, but is it a closed or an open circle? Well, since it's got that line under it, that means we got to color it in. Color it in because it's a closed circle. All right, and now we got to do our testing points. We have 0 is less than or equal to 3. So that is totally true. So we want to point towards 0 or go over 0 because those are numbers that make it true. Because -3 is less than 3. That's true. -2 is less than 3. That's true too. So those are the numbers that are included. All right, it looks like we got 2 more examples. So let's go ahead and tackle these last 2. So our number lines are blank, and I think you guys are getting the hang of, kind of just filling them in. So we got our 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then our negatives. -1, -2. -2, there we go. -3, -4, -5. Looks a little jank, but you know what I'm trying to do. So let's see, where's our circle going to be? At -3. Is it going to be open or closed? It's going to be open because it's not equal to. And then we got to figure out which direction our arrow points. So we have 0 is greater than -3. Well, yeah, that is totally true. So go ahead and draw your arrow over the 0. And then our last example, let's go ahead and do our number line first. We got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our positive numbers. And then -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. There's our negative numbers. All right, well, let's start our point at -1. But is it going to be an open or a closed? Well, since it has that line under it, it's going to be a closed circle. So color it in. Perfect. Beautiful. All right, so now we got to figure out our line. So we plug in our 0. 0 is greater than -1. Yep, that's true. So go ahead and face your line over the 0, pointing towards the 0 and pass, because those are the numbers that make it true. So is 5 greater than or equal to -1? Yes. Is 2 greater than or equal to -1? Yes. So those are our answers that would make the statement true. All right, so let's go ahead and flip back to our front page, and we're going to check off the booklet because we finished it. So go ahead and tackle the assignment for the day, and let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank y'all.